Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Tina Swarai Hoi Vigna Vinasham Anayashe Hoi Nija Vanchita Puran. Translation. Such remembrance destroys all difficulties and very easily enables one to fulfill his own desires. There's no commentary directly on this. Last night I was speaking on this verse because it's such an important topic. Srila Prabhupada hasn't directly commented on it. Here, he comments on it later on, because this verse is this and the verse previous to it. In the beginning of his narration, by remembering the spiritual master, the devotees of the Lord and the personality of Godhead, I have invoked their benedictions. So Srila Prabhupada comments on this later in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. There's the introductory chapters. These, first of all, in the very beginning of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the introductory topics, Vastu Nirdesh, what the establishment of what the topics are, that is given. The topics are Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasa Adi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. So these topics: who is Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Who is Nityananda Prabhu? Who is Advaita Acharya Prabhu? Who is Gadadhara Prabhu? Who is Srivas Prabhu? And who are all the devotees? And the disciplic followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita, and Gadadhara, they are also described. That is described later, but as this verse puts in a nutshell the importance of remembering. So I was speaking on it last night. I meant to speak more now, which I'll do. So, Bhante Aram Dekari Mangalachar. In the beginning of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, as in the beginning of any work of any importance, if it's anything more than a minor work, there should be first Mangalacharan, which is usually mispronounced in the Western countries as Mangalacharan, which means an auspicious invocation. Srila Prabhupada has translated this. So in that Mangalacharan, auspicious invocation, there is Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavan, Tina Smaran, the remembrance of Guru, Vaishnava and Bhagavan. So he's describing here in verse 20, verse number 1 of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, the very first verse. Who knows what that verse is? I just said it. Can you say? Yeah, that's it. Did everyone hear from the Lord? Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya. No, that's the second verse. Vande Guru and Isha Bhaktams. Isha, so it's Vande, offering respects to Vande Guru, to all the Gurus. Isha Bhaktams, Vaishnava. Here it said Guru, Vaishnava, Bhagavan. So Vande Guru, Isha Bhaktams, Isha, unto. So in slightly different language, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying the same thing. We're offering respects to Isha Bhaktams, Guru, Isha Bhaktams, Isha, and then Isha, the Supreme Lord, includes Isha Avatar, his avatars, his Prakash, Tat Prakash, his Shakti. In this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was to be understood. He is not, to understand Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is not alone. To understand the Supreme means to understand everything else in relation to him. If we want to understand the Supreme, how is he supreme? Or how is it supreme? If we take as a philosophical proposition. And in the Supreme is understood to be supreme in relation to everything else that is subordinate to it. So Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is understood in relation to Guru, Vaishnava, and all the various forms and energies of the Lord Himself. Now, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami certainly, he is, when he said Guru Vaishnava, the names of so many Vaishnavas are mentioned in this book, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he mentions Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami along with giving the names of many devotees, especially in these upcoming chapters. He gives the branches of the Chaitanya tree, and many of the Chaitanya tree, and then the branches of the two main branches, Nityananda and Advaita, and the branches of Vedanta. He mentions the name of so many devotees, and many of those devotees are not mentioned elsewhere in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Simply their names are listed in the list of devotees. Or they are just briefly mentioned. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami also writes that these are only the principal devotees, because there are many others also. There are long lists. We often find these long lists of devotees are given. In Rasik Mangal of Gopijana Vallabhdas, there's long lists of devotees' names, and from our Western novelistic temperament, in which we like to read something which is quick, straightforward, to the point, useful, valuable. We may think, what's the use of these lists of names? Just boring. All these names. But the devotees have included these names, even they don't give any more information about it. Because Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tineswar Ane Hoi Vigna Vinasham Anai Ashai Hoi Nija Ganchita Pur. Because by remembering the devotees, even we just say their name, we don't know anything more about them. By remembering them, then all obstacles on our path of progress in Krishna consciousness are destroyed, and by their mercy, we can very easily attain our desire. That applies to pure desire, because the devotees of the Lord are not interested in fulfilling our impure desires. So that means a desire for attaining Krishna consciousness. So we find here in Chaitanya Charitamrita also lists of names of devotees, and this remembrance of the Vaishnavas, or even in non-Vaishnava Sampradayas, even in Mayavadi Sampradayas, less so. There's this remembrance of the previous acharyas. This is a daily duty that one is supposed to perform. Practically on rising, it means after on rising or after the basic morning duties, brushing teeth, all this. Then one should state the names of all the previous, not all, it's not possible because there are so many devotees, but the principal acharyas, in one's sampradaya, to remember them, and then remember oneself in relation to them, that I'm woken up, it's time to start another day, and another day of service to the acharyas. Hear the word guru in the previous verse, Tineswami, guru was mentioned. In the first verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which this is restating it it's with commentary. It's restating the Sanskrit verse in Bengali. In the original verse, there's the Vande Guru, which means plural, gurus, whereas here it's stated in the singular. Guru, Vaishnava, Vande Guru, Isha Bhaktam. Again, it's all the gurus and the Vaishnava, the devotees of the Supreme Lord. So all Vaishnavas are gurus. And all gurus are Vaishnavas. Guru is not a Vaishnava, he's not actually a guru. It's, what is that? Chandalo Piji Jishnava Sattavasa. Shakkarma Nipano Vipramantritanto Visharadaha. A Vaishnava Guru Nasya. Vaishnava Shvakacha Guru. Even if one is very expert in Vedic ritualistic activities, and Shakkarma Nipano, Vipra, born in a high Brahminical family, but he's not a Vaishnava, then he's not fit to be a guru in the true sense of the term. Whereas even if one is born in the most condemned family, that of dog eaters, then if he is actually a Vaishnava, then he is a guru. And sometimes in the Vaishnava society say, oh, that's a guru, you see, that's a guru. But actually all Vaishnavas are gurus. Because they speak about Krishna. They act for Krishna. So by precept and practice, they teach. However, those who formally and according to the method of Shastra and tradition, take the role of Guru by Upadechyanti Gnanam, initiating into spiritual knowledge. They are specifically called, yes. In plural, we can have two terms, Guru Jan, Guru Varga. Guru Jan means gurus in general. When we say Guru Jan, we mean elders, mother, father, senior Vaishnavas. These are Guru Jan. But Guru Varga is another plural term, which means our initiating Guru, those we respect on the same level, and all the acharyas in this disciplic succession. May include also our senior God brothers, God sisters. So there's gradation of Guru. Arjuna became a dancing Guru when he was, what was his name? Brihandan, I think he was as a eunuch. So that, when Arjuna later said to Krishna, Shishyaste Shadi now I'm your disciple. I surrender to you. So to learn dancing, you also have to be surrendered to the Guru. You can't just say, well, I want to learn some avant-garde dancing, jazz style or something that you can do in the modern. That's considered something good in the modern culture if you invent something new. But actually, to learn that which is real dancing, that means for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, then one has to follow the process with great respect and surrender. So there are gradations of gurus. All Vaishnavas are gurus, but some who particularly take that role of guiding and giving shelter to others, they are to be respected more, not formally, not in a formal manner. But here, throughout Chaitanya Charitamrita, or throughout all the Vaishnava literature, we find there is, combined with rigid exposition of Siddhanta, of what is the actual understanding of reality. It's philosophically absolutely correct. What is the truth? We can learn from the Vaishnava literature. But because the truth is Rasovaisaha, is full of rasa, is very sweet, because the absolute truth is Krishna, who is, in the English word God, but a lot more than goes with the concept of God in the English language. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because He is very sweetly interacting with all His devotees, and because the Vaishnava literature are works of Bhakti, they philosophically establish the supremacy of Bhakti. But Bhakti, it's not just some kind of concept or some kind of 7 habits or art of living or something you adopt to live. You could live this way, you could live that way, or you could be a 1-minute manager or a 59-second employee or all this kind of thing. Bhakti is the intrinsic nature of the soul. It's not an alternative lifestyle. Everything else is an alternative lifestyle. The actual lifestyle is bhakti. Surrender to Krishna in love. And everything else is an alternative. Our Krishna conscious movement is sometimes considered, even by ourselves, as an alternative lifestyle. But actually there is no alternative, as Srila Prabhupada sometimes writes. The alternative is birth, death, old age and disease. Whether you do it with 7 habits or no habits or whatever, it all leads to birth, death, old age and disease. So the alternative to Krishna consciousness, there are many varieties. Shota Vyamini Ramajendran Vinam Santi Sahasrasha Apashyatam Atmatatvam Griheshu Grihavedina. Those who are blind to self-realization, they have many varieties of discussions of how to live our life, but it all comes down to the same thing of being enviously attached to the material world and experiencing alternative lifestyles, at least 8,400,000 varieties. That's a lot, isn't it? But the real variety or the real lifestyle is of surrender to Krishna with sweet reciprocation with Krishna, who is very eager to reciprocate with us, although unfortunately we may not be eager to reciprocate with him, but by studying the Bhakti Shastra, Sri Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These books, as Srila Prabhupada always used to say, these are not just books. Well, there are so many bookstores all around here. So many books. They're just books. But these books are Krishna. This Chaitanya Charitamrita is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We can say he has manifested himself. He's non-different from his Leela. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is describing everything perfectly. Here, in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is no Bhakti Siddhanta Viruddha Arasa Bhas. These two major deviations, Shrilale Prabhu Chitte Nahoyula, these deviations of that which is against Bhakti Siddhanta, the proper understanding of devotional service. Proper means it's not a matter of opinion. Krishna is as he is, and he is to be understood through Shastra, through Guru Sadhu Shastra. So that proper understanding is there. Amnaya Praha Tattvam. Amnaya Praha, that means that which is real is given by Amnaya, it means the knowledge of Shastra received in the parampara of our acharyas. So this is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There is no Bhakti Siddhanta Viruddha or Rasa Abhas or contradictory mellows for all the meditative. So everything is exact and perfect, but it's not just a matter of technical correctness. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, being himself a scholar on the superlative level, and also a great pure devotee of Krishna, he is not simply, here he's writing in the next verse, Shri Mangalacharan Hari Tribhida Vipraka Vastu Nirdesh. It's not simply, Vastu Nirdesh means ascertainment of the subject matter, or description. What is the subject of this book? Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. This is the subject matter to be described, but also, apart from the description, it's not like a scientific PhD, what's that word called? Thesis? Dissertation. Yeah, that's it. It's not a PhD dissertation where you write and you study and you quote one scholar and another scholar and give your own opinion, be very scientific. But it's received, as he will describe again and again, by the mercy of the devotees. He says, I'm simply, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami writes that I'm simply taking the remnants that are given by Srila Vrindavan Das, Raghunath Murari Gupta, Surup Damodar, Raghunath Das Goswami, what they have described, I'm simply restating that. So Vastu Nirdesh, the delineation of the subject that is there, but not simply in a scholarly, rascal, not at all in a rascal scholar, very scholarly but not rascal scholarly. There's a lot of difference. It's not that, and devotees should be scholarly, very good, but this rascal scholarship is not good at all. This idea that we put everything in a box and we do our experiments like some scientist, but we study by standing under the parampara, praying for their mercy. Rupa Raghunatha Padeva or Ash Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahi Krishna. That's how he's writing Chaitanya Charitamrita. Simply by always remembering Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswami. So, along with Vastu Nirdeshi's Ashirvad and Namaskar, offering benedictions and offering obeisances. So, benedictions are offered to the hearers because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the most humble Vaishnava, is offering benedictions. You may say, well, how is that humble? He's offering benedictions because he's taken the role, his service is to, under the order of the Vaishnavas, of the senior Vaishnavas of Vrindavan, and under the order of Madan Mohan, deity, he's taken the role, or taken the service of presenting the pastimes of Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's conveying the blessing Sada Hridya Kandare Spuratu Vashatinana, that by hearing this Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, may he be manifest within your heart. The mundane scholars, they also read that. There's a huge, thick book, Chaitanya Charitamrita, translated by Edward C. Wait a minute, I could get in trouble. Alright, anyway, he's arrested. He's dead. He made his commentary. He spent most of his life translating Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the whole effect, he went to hell. What a ridiculous waste of. He could get the hype, he had all the interest in this, but for the wrong reason. To promote his own useless scholarly career. And he blind this concentrated nature of Chaitanya Charitamrita, he wanted to turn it into dry subject of scholarship. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in composing this Chaitanya Charitamrita, says that actually the things that are written here, they shouldn't be written. It's too confidential. But then anyway, the camel-like non-devotees, they won't understand. Very good. We're very happy they won't understand. Those who are desirous and qualified to understand, they will understand. So, Ashirvad Namaskar, he while offering benedictions one side, he's offering obeisances on the other. So in this way, as a genuine devotee, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is describing the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And not only the pastimes, but even in modern language we could say the psychological state of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's not a subject of our psychoanalysis or any such thing, but what are his emotions as he chants Hare Krishna, as he wanders throughout South India. What are the inner feelings? Shri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadama Hyam Dadati Srupadanti. What are his inner feelings? That Swarup Damodar he understood, and Rupa Goswami he understood, and no one else understood, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu he understood, and no one else understood. Even among all his devotees, none understood. Swarup Damodar knew, but he didn't tell anyone. It was just between him and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Rupa Goswami, he understood that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's whole pastimes, he is simply in the mood of Radharani getting Krishna, but not getting Krishna. She longing to see Krishna, then again she sees him at Kurukshetra but feels disappointed and wants to take him to Vrindavan. So these are the basic feelings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Different moods he may manifest at different times, but this is the essence of his Antya-lila, which specifically the Vaisnavas of Vrindavan ordered Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to write another book, even though Chaitanya Bhagavan had already been written, describing more or less the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were given them. And of course many more are given here in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but specifically the purpose the inner purpose for which he came, that had not been described. How they've not been described means they've not been specifically delineated. That to understand the love of Radharani for Krishna, to understand the happiness that she feels in relationship with Krishna, to taste his own sweetness, Krishna has come as Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, while delineating the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is doing so in a manner that is perfectly Siddhantic, philosophically correct, and also because he's a pure devotee, he's personally relishing the sweetness that is so much prominent in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, more so even in those of Krishna. Krishna's Leela is the Madhurya Bhagavatasa, the essence of God's godness is His sweetness, but not His power or wealth or ability to punish others or His creative potency, but His sweetness. So Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is fully dedicated to relishing that sweetness and to distributing it. So these sweetest of all sweet pastimes, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is describing, and as he's relishing, then naturally that becomes manifest in his writing. So it's very sweet. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said that the day will come when the people of the world will learn Bengali to relish Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Now it's translated in English. You can read, but still the original language has its own sweetness, which those who can understand it can understand that, how that is so, and those who don't, they don't. The door is closed till you open it. You have to learn Bengali for that. Of course, not necessary that everyone do so, but maybe a time will come in future when, of course, Prabhupada wanted that our children should be taught Sanskrit. And if you learn Sanskrit, then learning Bengali it's a few days' job. It's a simple thing. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's beginning his book by remembering the Guru, Vaishnava and Bhagavan, by which how is it possible he has to write this huge book. From time to time while writing the books he says, I'm not going to describe this in detail because I don't want to make the book too big, but it came out pretty big anyway, didn't it? If you try to explain in brief the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and briefly means that empty out all the bookshops here and just fill them up with Chaitanya Leela, and that will be in brief. If you fill up the whole of the British Isles with descriptions of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes, stacked, is center point high, books, then that's a brief introduction to the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because even Ananta Shesh, with his thousands of mouths, in unlimited time, he can't even describe one moment of the pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So, what is brief, we can go distributing books and so on the street and someone says, well, just give me a small book. We give them a whole set of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a small book. It's just a brief introduction. Yeah, we have a lot of reading to do. It's all these small books. There are lots of small books. Srimad Bhagavatam, another small book with 18,000 verses. But originally that was, how much is that? In the heavenly planets they have 200,000 verse Bhagavatam. What to speak of all the commentaries. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has brought out this small book, summary, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. It became a big book, small book, big book, it's all relative, I suppose. But how did he do that? I mean, it takes time. Even to write, even if you have so many ideas of what to do, you have all he collected by hearing from Raghunath Das, especially. Raghunath Das said, it appears he had Sri Damodar's Karcha, or diary, which is now not extant, and Murari Gupta's diaries, so he was using these as his source material. So in writing, the first one should get one's source material together, and then assemble it and think how to write and then write. So he had all this, but there's a lot how to sort it all out, and how to present Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he is, without being, once here he writes, Tine Swarane with Vigna Vinasham, with destroying the obstacles. But how oneself should not be an obstacle. If one is not in Krishna Chaitanya means Krishna consciousness. Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna consciousness. He is Krishna consciousness. So if one is not blessed by Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he cannot explain the pastimes of Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it requires very pure consciousness to simply deliver that which is given by Guru and Vaishnava, that which is given by the Acharyas, what they have given, to pass that on. Srila Prabhupada many times said that to be a guru is it's not a difficult thing. Just you present what you have received. But then even to receive it requires sincerity of purpose. Requires the blessings of the Vaishnavas that we can receive that which is given. We are very small, and Vaishnavas give Krishna, who is very big. So only by their mercy can we hold, just like Lord Shiva. He's holding the Ganga. Only he can do that. Not everyone can do that. He's holding the Ganga in his, not hold, well at first he held, and Ganga, no one could think how to stop the flow of the Ganga